Breaking news. In just 15 minutes, Ukraine obliterated a billion-dollar fortified port using drones worth barely $2 million. No fighter jets, no warships, just artificial intelligence and surgical precision. A military masterpiece or a dangerous provocation that could change the war forever. Subscribe if you believe it was a masterstroke proving that strategy beats money. Comment if you think it was madness that could ignite a global conflict. Because what you're about to see isn't science fiction. It's the day a computer defeated a warship. On October 19, 2025, the port believed it was untouchable. The defense network around Novarosk stood layered and confident, watching the sea with absolute assurance. North Korean forces had surrounded the harbor and packed it with weapons and sensors. Radar-guided Panzer S-1 missile launchers ringed the approaches. A K-630 close-range anti-air guns were mounted and ready to unleash up to 10,000 explosive rounds per minute. Orion drones sat on standby, each carrying KA-B-20 precision bombs beneath its wings. And in the middle of it all, a stealth frigate kept watch, armed with 8 vertical launch tubes loaded with Pukguksong-3 ballistic missiles, each able to strike targets over 800 miles away. Crews drilled, radars spun. The harbor felt safe. Ukraine didn't bring destroyers. It didn't bring submarines. It brought something different. A Q-400 Scythe drones skimmed just 15 meters above the water, guided by terrain-following radar and pre-programmed maps. From the south, 3 unmanned Mora-55 boats plowed through waves nearly 2 meters high. 2 carried 317 kilograms explosive warheads, while the third was a decoy designed to appear on radar as a friendly patrol craft. High above, a Bayraktar TB2 floated at 8,200 meters, using a Starlink encrypted link to designate targets and coordinate the strike team. But hidden inside that familiar formation was a card no one had ever played before. At 4:30 a.m., the port slept. On paper, it was a Russian-controlled logistics hub. In practice, it housed North Korean assets, damaged corvettes, missile boats, radar trucks, and mobile command centers. It was where they hid, repaired, and planned their next attacks. They believed they were beyond enemy reach. They were wrong. From the west, 6 AQ-400 Scythe drones advanced at 145 kilometers per hour, still just 15 meters above the sea, too low for long-range radar to detect. From the south, the 3 Mora-55 vessels moved toward the harbor entrance, 2 live, 1 decoy. Above, the TB2 kept its laser locked on the main target, the North Korean stealth frigate carrying its 8 Pukguksong-3 missiles, a $500 million asset, both a threat and a target. The Ghost hybrid strike was about to begin, using US-made AI target processors and terrain tracking radar to exploit every blind spot in the enemy's defense. At 4:35 a.m., the trap closed. The operator sent the activation signal. 2 scythes released chaff packs, thousands of metallic filaments forming false radar clouds. On Russian and North Korean screens, it looked like 2 large drones had split off and were attacking head-on. The other 4 scythes dropped lower, just 9 meters above the waves, hiding behind the granite cliffs of the Krasnodar coast. The TB2 kept transmitting encrypted coordinates through Starlink. Its terrain-matching radar located hidden Panzer S-1 launchers near the harbor. Inside the enemy command post, confusion reigned. The Costa 2 E2 radar marked the low-flying scythes as biological clutter, birds thrown off course by fog. The 96L6 radar tracked the decoy Mura boat moving at 40 kilometers per hour with a radar cross-section of 10 square meters. Assuming it was a gunboat, the coastal battery fired 357 E-6E missiles. The decoy vanished in a 3,800 degrees Celsius fireball. Its aluminum hull vaporized. A 6-meter column of salty water and smoke shot upward. But that wasn't the real danger. The flash blinded sensors for a moment. One scythe was hit by shrapnel and disintegrated midair. The rest pressed on. At 4:37 a.m., the defenders had launched 12 missiles and destroyed only one real drone. Then came the electronic wave. The Russian Krasuka-4 system unleashed a concentrated electromagnetic pulse with a 300-kilometer radius, meant to blind every drone at once. Ukrainian transmissions filled with static. Screens flashed. Signal lost. But the scythes, powered by American-made processors, had already switched to inertial navigation. No GPS, no data link, just gyroscopes and stored maps. One drone veered toward the source of the jamming and dove. At 145 kilometers per hour, it slammed into the radar truck carrying the emitter antenna. The shaped charge warhead exploded downward, piercing the chassis and igniting the fuel tank. The vehicle vanished in an orange fireball. The screens cleared. TB2 relinked. 4 scythes remained. The defensive network was crippled. The attack continued. Before the final phase, picture something bigger. A North Korean ballistic missile submarine, slow and silent, carrying nuclear warheads able to erase entire cities. Could it really challenge U.S. naval power in open combat? Comment 1 if you think North Korea's submarine fleet is a serious threat. Comment 2 if you believe U.S. carrier groups and attack subs still dominate every ocean layer. Now back to Novarosk, where the tide was turning. At 4:38 a.m., the Starlink connection stabilized again. The electromagnetic fog lifted. The TB2's image cleared. Below, chaos, heat trails, overlapping radar echoes, false targets everywhere. One scythe broke formation and went for a Panzer S1. Flying at 148 kilometers per hour, only 10 meters up, it dropped flares to fool heat seekers, then dove. Impact. A 70-kilogram shaped charge struck the turret. A copper jet punched through armor, igniting the ammo feed. Temperature, 1,500 degrees Celsius. Shrapnel scattered over 35 meters. A 9-meter fireball rose. Local seismic sensors recorded a magnitude 2.1 tremor. One launcher down. The remaining scythes instantly changed course. Just then, 3 Orion Hunter drones took off from a coastal base. Built to chase small, fast targets, they topped out at 190 kilometers per hour, each armed with KAB-20 laser-guided bombs. One locked onto a Mura-55, its infrared signature glowing too bright. Lock confirmed. Weapon away. The boat, carrying 317 kilograms of explosives, took a direct hit. Premature detonation. An 8-meter column of fire and water blasted skyward. Metal fragments rained down. Half of Ukraine's naval strike force was gone in one hit. But the operator didn't stop. He ordered the last Mura-55 to slow to 30 kilometers per hour. It hit among the waves, barely leaving a trace on the surface. The 3 surviving scythes cooled their thermal systems, venting heat upward to mask their IR signature. Their flight paths hugged the cliffs, dissolving into the landscape. At 8,200 meters, the TB2 scanned again, spotting the lead Orion circling. Coordinates sent. One scythe broke off, climbed slowly, and slipped into the Orion's blind spot. At 4:40 a.m., it struck. The explosion split the Orion midair. Burning wreckage fell into the Black Sea. The remaining 2 Orions hesitated. Their feeds cut out. No video, no telemetry. The attack pressed on. Only 2 scythes and 1 Mora remained. They broke through the outer defense ring. The flagship's AK-630 cannon activated, roaring alive. A torrent of 30mm shells tore through the sky. 1 scythe was shredded mid-turn, carbon fiber and cables spraying like metallic confetti. 2 attackers left. The last scythe weaved in zigzags, forcing the gun to recalibrate aim every second. Meanwhile, the Mora 55 released another chaff cloud, thousands of aluminum fibers filling enemy radar. False targets multiplied. The AK-630 fired blind, but the ship rocked 5 degrees in 2-meter waves, unable to stabilize its turret. After 19 seconds of non-stop fire, the cannon ran dry. The system halted. Radar lost lock. At 4:43 a.m., the TB-2 marked 2 laser points, the fuel depot beneath the pier and the vertical launch tubes on deck. The final scythe received its last coordinates and dove. The warhead hit right under the pier. The copper jet punched through an inch of steel and into the fuel tank. Explosion. Flames rose 9 meters high. The blast wave rippled across the port, shattering windows 300 meters away. Regional sensors logged a magnitude 3.4 quake. The blast was only the beginning. Burning fuel spilled across the missile deck. Heat warped the launchers. Guidance systems for all 8 Pukuksong 3s collapsed. The flagship still floated, but its weapons were dead. The harbor's flank was scorched. The sky over Novarosk glowed orange. The fortress stopped being a fortress. The numbers tell the rest. In 15 minutes, Ukraine dismantled a billion-dollar bastion with less than $2 million in gear. No satellites damaged, no jets launched. It was done entirely with wooden drones, smart software, and precise planning. At 4:45 a.m., flames still burned in Novarosk. A black smoke column rose above the bay, a warning. The North Korean flagship didn't sink but was paralyzed. Missile tubes charred, systems melted. What once threatened cities and civilians was now dead weight beside the pier. Inside the Ukrainian bunker, there were no cheers, only silence. Operators stared at their screens, watching a burning dock, carbonized steel, and fuel spreading over the water. They knew what it meant. Thus ended one of the most precise and most unsettling attacks of modern warfare. In barely 15 minutes, an invisible fleet reduced to ashes a billion-dollar symbol of power. But the question no one dares to answer is, how long before these AI-guided machines decide on their own when to strike? Today, it was a North Korean frigate. Tomorrow, could it be an entire city? Subscribe if you believe technology is changing war to save human lives. Or comment if you think we're crossing a dangerous line, where victory's cost is no longer measured in lives, but in codes and algorithms. Because after what happened in Novarosk, one thing is certain: the battlefield will never be human again.